The Kansas City Chiefs and their loyal fan base. Blindsided by devastating Rashee Rice. Update: the Kansas City Chiefs organization, along with its fiercely devoted fan base, was rocked by a seismic revelation that sent shockwaves cascading through Arrowhead Stadium and across the NFL landscape. What was intended to be a routine Wednesday practice spiraled into a whirlwind of concern after a shocking and deeply troubling name surfaced on the injury report. A name that made Chiefs Kingdom hold its breath. Rashee Rice, the electrifying third-year wideout who had swiftly ascended as Patrick Mahomes' most dependable offensive weapon. But this wasn't your standard injury designation, not by a long shot. Rice, one who had already endured the heartache of a torn LCL that prematurely halted his sensational 2024 season, now finds himself grappling with a brand new obstacle. A groin ailment, surfacing unexpectedly, forced the dynamic playmaker to sit out of practice, immediately casting doubt over his readiness for the team's much-anticipated preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals. Yet, this groin issue may only be the beginning of a much more ominous storm cloud brewing over Rice's immediate future in Kansas City. Looming overhead is the imminent threat of an NFL suspension. A disciplinary hammer expected to fall due to violations of the league's rigid personal conduct policy. The violations are linked to a tragic vehicular incident in Dallas last year, one that left multiple civilians injured. The timing couldn't be more catastrophic, both for Rice's personal comeback and for the Chiefs' meticulously crafted offensive game plan. Just as the explosive receiver appeared on the cusp of reclaiming his Pro Bowl caliber form after months of grueling rehab and recovery, a cruel double blow, renewed injury and looming suspension, now threatens to derail everything. The Chiefs had meticulously mapped Rice into their offensive blueprint, especially given the rare and intuitive chemistry he shares with superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes. That's what made Wednesday's practice absences all the more unnerving, and not just because of Rice. Injuries appeared to ripple through the Chiefs' roster like a spreading contagion. Veteran speedster Marquise Hollywood Brown, projected to bring veteran savvy and deep threat explosiveness to the wide receiver core, also remained sidelined, hampered by an ankle injury that has lingered for days. And the offense wasn't the only area of concern. Tight end Jaden Brenningstool, a promising young talent making waves throughout training camp, was withheld from participation due to a nagging hamstring strain, one that the Chiefs' medical staff wisely chose to handle with extreme caution to avoid exacerbating the issue. Defensively, the alarms continued. Linebacker Drew Tranquill, a linchpin in Kansas City's defensive architecture, was held out of drills due to persistent back discomfort, an issue that's periodically hindered his mobility since camp began. The coaching staff is reportedly monitoring his workload with surgical precision. All these simultaneous setbacks, in just one day, sent a clear message. Kansas City's depth and readiness are under threat, just days ahead of their preseason clash against Arizona. The coaching staff had envisioned using the preseason to ignite rhythm, build offensive cohesion, and evaluate emerging talent across the roster. But with pivotal contributors dropping out of practice, those objectives have become increasingly difficult to execute. And for fans, the heartbreak surrounding Rice's situation cuts even deeper when revisiting the meteoric rise that made him a household name in Chiefs Kingdom. When Kansas City selected Rice with the 55th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, few casual fans were familiar with the SMU standout. But Rice didn't need long to introduce himself to the NFL world in jaw-dropping fashion. As a rookie, he shattered every preconceived expectation. He rapidly became Mahomes' favorite target, showcasing a preternatural ability to exploit defensive soft spots, make clutch grabs in high-pressure moments, and provide a reliable safety valve in crunch time. His rookie stat line spoke volumes: 79 receptions, 938 yards, and 7 touchdowns, all while adapting to the speed of the league and mastering one of the most intricate offensive systems in football. The synergy between Mahomes and Rice was undeniable, visible from their very first practice together. Mahomes, renowned for elevating the talent around him, discovered in Rice not just a gifted athlete, but a relentless worker and student of the game. Their on-field connection became a cornerstone of the Chiefs' aerial assault. Building upon that electrifying rookie campaign, Rice entered 2024 with soaring expectations and an even greater role in the Chiefs' offensive hierarchy. The early results, nothing short of spectacular. Rashee Rice's road to redemption, triumph, turmoil, and the high price of a split-second decision. The months that followed Rashee Rice's devastating LCL injury were marked by anguish, frustration, and an extraordinary level of grit. After undergoing successful surgery to repair the ligament damage, Rice launched himself headfirst into a grueling and unrelenting rehabilitation journey. This wasn't just a physical climb, it demanded immense mental resilience to cope with the agony of watching a potential breakout season vanish before his eyes. Throughout the off-season, Rice immersed himself fully in his recovery regimen. He worked relentlessly alongside the Chiefs' top-tier medical team, strength coaches, and personal trainers to ensure that when he returned, he'd be stronger, faster, and sharper than ever. His resolve impressed everyone around him, so much so that head coach Andy Reid publicly applauded Rice's tenacity and declared the receiver was re-entering training camp full speed ahead. The buzz surrounding Rice's return reached a fever pitch. Chiefs fans were counting down the days, yearning to witness their emerging superstar take the field again, ready to resume the brilliance he displayed before injury derailed his 2024 campaign. The coaching staff, equally enthused, was eager to reinsert Rice into the offensive arsenal. His unique skill set a tactical weapon designed to terrorize opposing secondaries. But just as Rice's comeback narrative was poised to crescendo, it was tragically eclipsed by a string of off-field controversies that dragged his name into the headlines for all the wrong reasons, culminating in a life-altering incident that would shift the entire trajectory of his NFL career. The most jarring of these episodes came in the form of a catastrophic high-speed crash during the 2024 offseason in Dallas, a collision that would forever alter both his public image and his professional future. Surveillance footage later revealed Rice's involvement in illegal street racing, piloting a Lamborghini at breakneck speeds exceeding 115 miles per hour along congested public roads. The consequences were devastating. Rice's reckless driving led to a multi-vehicle pileup that seriously injured multiple innocent bystanders. The situation escalated from tragic to infuriating when Rice fled the scene, abandoning the wreckage and the wounded, in a decision that many saw as cowardly and indefensible. The legal fallout was swift and unforgiving. After months of legal wrangling, Rice ultimately pled guilty to 2 third-degree felony charges: racing on a highway and causing a crash resulting in serious bodily harm. These were not minor infractions. These were weighty criminal offenses that carried both significant legal ramifications and long-lasting reputational damage. As part of his plea deal, Rice accepted full responsibility and agreed to pay $1 million in restitution to the victims, a staggering financial penalty that underlines the gravity of the damage he inflicted. But the monetary cost was only the beginning. In court, a Dallas County judge sentenced Rice to 5 years of probation, during which he must adhere to strict behavioral conditions, mandatory check-ins, and compliance protocols. Perhaps the most unpredictable component of the sentence is the 30-day jail term, which Rice must serve at some point during his 5-year probation, but without a fixed start date. This stipulation introduces a looming cloud of uncertainty for both Rice and the Chiefs. as his availability for games could be disrupted at any moment. That unpredictability complicates Kansas City's roster strategy, and it casts a long shadow over Rice's ability to establish momentum, rhythm, and reliability as he attempts to salvage his football career. In addition to the criminal justice consequences, Rice now faces serious scrutiny under the NFL's personal conduct policy, a set of standards designed to hold players accountable both on and off the field. The league places a premium on player conduct, especially in cases involving criminal endangerment of public safety. As highly visible public figures and role models, NFL players are expected to reflect the values of discipline, accountability, and integrity. While the league has not yet formally announced disciplinary action, insiders and legal experts anticipate a multi-game suspension, most likely ranging from 2 to 6 games. The final duration will depend on several variables, including Rice's cooperation, his willingness to show remorse, the severity of the victim's injuries, and the league's desire to set a precedent for future conduct violations. Rashee Rice's turmoil deepens. Uncertainty, setbacks, and the ripple effect on the Chiefs' 2025 campaign. The exact length and timing of Rashee Rice's impending suspension remain uncertain, and that ambiguity continues to cast a long shadow over the Kansas City Chiefs' preparations for the 2025 season. Several key factors will ultimately influence the NFL's decision, including the severity of the criminal charges, Rice's cooperation during the league's investigation, his past disciplinary record, if any, and the extent to which he demonstrates remorse and a genuine commitment to personal growth. This lingering uncertainty presents enormous challenges for head coach Andy Reid and his staff, who are now tasked with shaping an offensive identity without knowing when or if Rice will be available in the early stretch of the season. The inability to definitively project his status complicates everything from depth chart configuration to game plan installation. In a candid interview with ESPN on August 2nd, Rice addressed the situation with notable composure, yet couldn't hide his frustration with the lack of clarity. "Honestly, it's still in the works," Rice admitted, when pressed about communication from the league regarding his status. "My legal team is handling that. All I can do is focus on what I can control right now, and that's me doing what I do best here on the field." His response revealed both maturity and mental discipline, reflecting a young athlete attempting to center himself amidst chaos. But his words also emphasize the turbulence that continues to grip both his personal journey and the Chiefs' organizational planning. The potential suspension is just one layer of adversity Rice is facing. The psychological weight of legal consequences, public scrutiny, and media pressure could very well bleed into his on-field performance, no matter how determined he is to compartmentalize. Moreover, the fallout from the Dallas incident has already impacted his marketability, likely drying up sponsorship deals and endorsement opportunities that once seemed inevitable. The financial repercussions now stretch far beyond restitution checks and legal bills. For the Kansas City Chiefs, the Rice saga isn't merely a matter of roster logistics. It's a multi-dimensional dilemma that impacts everything from offensive structure to long-term strategy. The franchise has already poured considerable investment into Rice's development. Through valuable draft capital, coaching resources, and contractual commitment. Now they must confront the possibility of reconfiguring their offensive weaponry, at least temporarily, to account for his absence. The situation becomes even more frustrating when viewed in the context of recent events. Just as Chiefs Kingdom began to rally around Rice's return, after nearly a full year off the field due to his LCL tear, he was once again sidelined, this time by a groin injury that surfaced days before the final preseason tune-ups. For fans, the emotional toll of this stop-start cycle has been demoralizing. Many had envisioned Rice returning as a rejuvenated, mature, and explosive difference-maker in 2025. Instead, they are faced with yet another setback in a spiraling series of disappointments. Supporters who stood by Rice during his rehabilitation and legal battles are now left wrestling with conflicting emotions. Hope for redemption, concern over his availability, and doubt about whether their young star can reclaim the trajectory that once pointed toward superstardom. To make matters more precarious, Rice's absence is just one part of a broader issue. Multiple key players were sidelined on the same practice day, highlighting just how fragile depth can be, even for an elite franchise. And that's where the stakes rise. The Chiefs' success over the past several seasons hasn't solely been built on MVP-level quarterback play. It's been underpinned by depth, flexibility, and players stepping up when called upon. When several critical contributors are missing simultaneously, it puts immense strain on coaches to reimagine personnel groupings and adjust play-calling strategies on the fly. As the preseason opener against the Arizona Cardinals draws near, the coaching staff finds itself in the uncomfortable position of preparing a team for real competition while contending with a depleted lineup and unresolved questions. These exhibition matchups carry immense value, not just in terms of scoreboard results, but in evaluating talent, fostering chemistry, and fine-tuning the offensive and defensive schemes that will determine regular season success. With so many key figures either injured, suspended, or uncertain, the Chiefs are being forced to recalibrate earlier than expected. Sound off, Chiefs Kingdom. Thank you guys. See you next video.